government should either provide subsidies to public transport operators or completely zero rate on no taxes, no levies on fuel, so that this can help them be able to sustain. As for now, we cannot be able. I saw that monies have been allocated to other areas. We saw the other day 100 million allocated to artists. You know, and we see public transport as an essential service, a very important facilitator of movement that needs to be supported. We don't need to have this industry collapsing because of coronavirus. It has to be there, and the only way to be brought out is by government stepping in. We know very well that it's government responsibility. Movements of people in the country, it's government responsibilities. Matatu has just stepped in to take advantage of it as a business. But right now, since it is on its knees, the government needs to be able to step in.
Well said, Mr. Kimutai. Do you think that the directive for the cessation of movement was a bit abrupt, especially considering the fact that some people were traveling on that same day and had not finished their journey? Was it too abrupt?
I didn't get your question.
My question is the timing of the cessation of movement directive. Was it too abrupt, especially on Monday?
It's unfortunate that it was abrupt. There were people traveling when there were pronouncements of the lockdown, and I'm happy that I heard the CS Matiang'i say that they will handle a case individually, because if a person was traveling from Mombasa at around before the pronouncements and was going to Busia, for instance, the person must have been caught up between Nairobi and Mombasa. So what happens? You know, it's very difficult now because, going back or getting quarantined in an area where you know nobody and there is no way you can be aided to survive is a challenge. And I'm happy that at least there's been a window of, handling a case by case as it is. So that one by itself we should have been given time. We should have been told from tomorrow this time, so that people completely organize themselves and don't move. But this one was so abrupt that 7 o'clock and people are already traveling and they were caught up in between. But I'm happy that this is a lesson that we have learned. Next time we need to have a grace period that people need to have that warning and be able to organize themselves in their movements.
Have you done anything as stakeholders to address the challenges of those who are stranded, the special cases of commuters who were stranded? Have you done anything to address the unique cases?
Well, there's nothing we can do much because we are not the authority. We cannot be able to say they keep continuing moving, but we will just plead with the government that those who started their journeys before the pronouncements be allowed to get to their destinations. Because right now, it will be like a stigma for people who are traveling. We don't know how they will receive in the other end. It would be like they are transferring the virus. So it's important also that this has got to be, administered in a way that can be seen to be acceptable to any person who's traveling. It is very important. But right now, you know very well that there are villagers who have taken the law into their hands by even trying to lynch those who have traveled. But it's important for them to be told that a person who's traveled not necessarily would be having the virus, but if it is quarantining them, it is okay for them to be seen not to be spreading the virus.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Kimutai, what do you think, why do you think the matatu sector is important in this fight against coronavirus? Why is it such a crucial sector?
I didn't get you. What do I think?
Why do you think the matatu sector is crucial in curbing the spread of coronavirus?
It is a convergence. It's an area where most people meet. A matatu, if it's a 14-seater, it can carry up to over 100 people in a day. If it's a 33-seater, it can carry up to 400 people. And this is an area where people converge, the windows are closed, somebody would sneeze. So it can be very dangerous for, if people don't take precaution, it can be an area of real spread of the virus because as I told you earlier on, majority of Kenyans use this as means of traveling. There is no other mode of traveling that is accommodating as a big number as matatus. Matatus in Nairobi alone, you can see we've been having 6 million Kenyans in the day. In the night, we have 4 million. So 2 million have been transported by matatus, and others, about 2 million others, has been transported to the various places of residence within Nairobi, and some outside Nairobi. So if one person has, and is a 33-seater, you'll know that if 10 people get it, and then the 10 people will give another 10, its multiplying effect is going to be enormous. So it is an area that requires to have proper attention, because it can be a breeding ground for coronavirus. So it's important that attention is given. Let this issue of giving masks or ensuring that everybody is masked when entering into a matatu and get things sanitized. Some private sector organizations have actually gone ahead to supply us with the sanitizers, which is beautiful. It's great. It's their concern that they do have that this pandemic has got to be controlled. So we would even want to ask other corporate organizations, because matatus are owned by individuals. They only have an umbrella of SACCOs. SACCOs do not own the matatus. The matatus are owned by individual Kenyans, and probably they might not be able to provide all that is required in ensuring that we are not spreading this virus. So it's important for the government to step in. It is important for private sector to step in, because this is what is used every day. Even if we have the 1 meter social distancing, but you can see it can still spread. We've had scientific proof that it can, if somebody coughs, it can stay in air for quite some time. So we must come up to help public transport operators to ensure that their vehicles are fumigated, they are provided with sanitizers, and also ensuring that also Kenyans who cannot afford masks, or if there are no masks, let them be availed, people can buy them.
Before I let you go, sir, how would you rate the progress of adherence to the guidelines by the government from the matatu sector? How would you rate the progress of the implementation of these directives?
Oh, yeah. So far, because it's a matter of life and death, majority of public transport operators have actually adhered to, they have complied. But you know, since it is teamwork, it's an issue of everybody taking up their responsibility of ensuring that they don't either spread or get the virus. All of us must play part. If it is most matatu boarding points or terminals have been equipped with water and soaps. Some of the matatus, majority of them have sanitizers for any person who would board a matatu midway. So it is very important that at times, because we handle very many people and large amounts of sanitizers are required. You see, if I'm supposed to sanitize 400 people, I will have to turn my revenues to buying sanitizers, and yet it has dwindled. Already 40% has been taken off from passengers from the vehicles. That means 40% of the revenues have gone down. And at the same time, people have been, people have been advised to stay at home, and some have been quarantined. There is a curfew. Now Nairobi has been locked. So the revenues are very little that they cannot afford to probably ensure that everybody gets the sanitizers. So it's important that passengers who are using the service have got to ensure that they are also getting involved in ensuring that they sanitize themselves.
Thank you so much, Bwana Simon Kimutai. He's the chair of the Matatu Owners Association, joining us via Skype just to talk about the impact of coronavirus on the transport sector, the public transport sector. And now there you have it. And this has affected so many things in the country. Remember, the directive took effect on Monday, 7 p.m. right here in Nairobi metropolitan area. But it should be taking effect today, beginning 7 p.m. in 3 coastal counties. I'm talking about Mombasa, Kilifi, and Kwale County. A lot has been happening since President Uhuru Kenyatta gave this directive down at the 3 coastal counties. I understand that quite a number of roadblocks have already been mounted by the police. Joining us now live is my colleague Michael Mwadiga, just to help us understand what is happening right now in the coastal region. Mwadiga.
Okay, thank you so much, Safina Cheng. I'm coming to you live from Mombasa County. Of course, I'm the Likoni crossing channel, whereby the ferries do apply the channel so as to ferry commuters who are coming from the island going to the southern, or going to south coast of Mombasa. And currently, where I'm standing, these are the disinfectant or spraying booths which were launched early this week by Mombasa Governor Hassan Ali Joho, together with another politician who is known as Suleiman Shabal. Of course, it's a donation from Hassan Joho Foundation and Suleiman Shabal. It was launched on Monday, whereby apart from having those disinfectants, it has also been fixed with thermal cameras, which are also going to check the temperatures of those commuting or those crossing the channel and passing through this booth, of course, to disinfect themselves. And so far, the governor said that apart from this was just a starting project, but they're looking going on forward to have another bigger or major units, of course, which will be more important, which will make it easy for many people to cross at the same time. And remember that it is not only on this side of the channel, but also on the other side of the channel, we also have the same booth. Of course, these are some of the mitigations, or these are some of the mitigations are being put to ensure that to contain the COVID-19 pandemic, which of course at the moment it is giving or it is making governments to make sure that they give out policies or make directives to ensure that they protect their citizens. Currently, the ferry is also applying at the same time, and this time remember that though there are directives which were given before, that's from the moment curfew stops. That's from 5 a.m. People will be crossing the channel. Then from 11 to 3 p.m. It will be cars which will be given that priority. But prior to that, earlier on, the Mombasa or the Coast Regional Commission, that is Mr. John Longata, has said or gave a directive to the Kenya Ferry Services that there be one ferry which will be plying across to ensure that there is the congestion in this channel. And this channel, a point to note is that over 250,000 people do cross the channel on daily basis. And of course, in order to ease this congestion, it's to ensure that there will be a ferry which will be plying across. And currently, we are waiting to see what will be happening today evening as the government's directive of 21 days ban on which is banning the or it is the restriction of movements rather of persons from these 3 counties, that is Mombasa, Kwale, and Kilifi, taking effect today evening at 7 p.m. And we'll be giving you details on what will be happening. Of course, we'll be on the ground to ensure that we give you up-to-date information on what is happening, the effect which will be taking place today evening. And going forward today or later in the day, the Mombasa County Commissioner, that is Mr. Gilbert Kitio, of course, will be emphasizing and giving details on what the effect or on what the, on what the directive is implying. Remember that there are people who do traverse both counties. There are people who live in Kilifi and they work in Mombasa County. The same to people who live in Mombasa County and also work in Kilifi County, so as in Kwale County. So today, later in the day, that is around 12 noon, he'll be giving a press briefing rather, that's to enlighten the public on what is all about regarding those who are working on both counties and and have to move across as they work on their daily way of working. So he'll be giving us details on that, and of course we'll be coming to you to give you more details on what will be happening. This is the Likoni channel, and you remember that when the curfew started, it all started with the other Likoni ferry, and of course there were police officers which were deployed here to ensure that everything was moving on fine, and currently things are just back to normalcy. Everything is okay, everything is fine. The flow is okay in this channel. So far so good, nothing much to worry about. And of course from these booths just behind here, from these booths, of course there are taps which people are washing their hands before they board the ferry. So they wash their hands. After washing their hands, they pass through this booth. They disinfect themselves as they go to the channel. And as you can see, most of the people who are crossing here, they're putting on masks just to show that they are taking into account the government's directive that everyone must put on a mask. Remember, we are fighting a pandemic, a global pandemic, that is COVID-19, which as for now, it has costed thousands of lives. And at the moment, countries and different governments across the globe have put measures to ensure that they control and contain this pandemic. So far in Kenya, we have lost 6 people, and one heartbreaking story was that a young boy of 6-year-old, the 6-year-old boy who succumbed due to COVID-19, and the government telling Kenyans they must make sure that they take into account this directive. This is to ensure that the COVID-19 is contained and make sure that the country has to move forward. So far, so many countries which have been affected by this COVID-19, things are not that well, and governments are trying to ensure that, to make sure that they urge their people to take into account the directives. This is to ensure that it gives, or to help the government in fighting this pandemic. Of course, it is sending chills of pain down the spine of many, or chills of fear down the spine of many, as you know, this pandemic is real, and people have to take into account what is happening and what the government is telling them to do. So far, so good. I have no much as from this point, Safini Cheng. Back to you. I'm Michael Mandiga, coming to you live from Mombasa County, Likoni Channel.
Thank you, Michael Modiga, for that update coming to us from Mombasa at the Likoni Ferry Channel. What you've seen there actually in the background as Modiga was giving us that update, residents of the coastal region just using what the government has set up as measures to curb the spread of coronavirus. What they're required to do right now is to pass through the sanitizers, the improvised version of sanitizers that residents are supposed to pass through. It's mandatory for everyone who wants to use the ferry so that they can be able to be safe during this time. The Likoni ferry actually is used by so many people, and you can imagine if measures are not put in place, the social distancing, if awareness is not conducted, you can imagine how much the disaster that we could be looking at in case that is not properly managed. So it's a good thing that such initiatives have been put in place. We'll be getting more details from the coastal region later, and even as you know, the directive on cessation of movement is to take effect beginning 7 p.m. today in the 3 coastal counties. We'll be looking at how the situation is like, what residents are saying, how businesses are adjusting, especially those who work from a different county and live in a different county. How is that going to affect their livelihoods? We will be looking at that later. And remember, we have also been putting our eyes, our camera lenses right here in Nairobi, just to assess also how the situation is like. And we now want to take you to the Nairobi Central Business District just to look at how the situation is like. Joining us now is Sarafina Robi once again to give us an update on what is the situation. Sarafina. All right, I understand it's Beatrice Gatonye who is going to be giving us a clear picture on what is happening at the Nairobi Central Business District. What is the situation like, Beatrice, this morning?
Here at Tomboya Street, just to check on whether Kenya are actually adhering to the government's directives, ensuring that they wear the masks and making sure that they wash their hands, keep this social distance. This is what we are here to look at. And interestingly, actually, it is business as usual for many Kenyans here at the CBD. I can actually report that many of the Kenyans are not taking this directive seriously, and especially of wearing the masks. We remember the other day President Uhuru Kenyatta actually said that it is a must for every Kenyan who goes out to the public to wear their masks, their face masks. But many of the Kenyans here in town actually are not wearing, and actually they're not even adhering to this directive. And while I was just walking around, interestingly, I came across a gentleman here in town with a bicycle and placards on his bicycle, carrying a Bible, has water and soap on his bicycle, actually just asking Kenyans to wash their hands. And it is interesting that actually many Kenyans are stopping him and asking him, can we wash our hands? And like you can see right now, many of them are actually lining up here, queuing here, just asking him whether they can get this service of free service. And I would like to talk to him a bit and just to get to hear from him why he personally took this initiative to ensure that Kenyans are actually washing their hands. Habari yako, unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Samson Waithaka.
Samson Waithaka, tueleze kwa nini umechukua jukumu hili kuhakikisha kwamba unawasaidia wananchi hapa jijini Nairobi kunawa mikono na kueneza jumbe ambazo rais amekuwa akiwauliza Wakenya kuzingatia ili kukinga maambukizi ya corona.
Sasa okay, mimi naishi pale Kariobangi South. Nimekuwa hii basikeli yangu inabebaga watoto wa shule. Sasa shule silifungwa. Sasa nikawa mimi niko kwa nyumba na familia yangu. Niko na familia ya watu 5. Sasa nikaona hakuna haja nikae kwa nyumba. Acha niende town, nikaone vile watu wanakaa. Sasa kufika Modhurua, nilipata watu wanameshikana. Watu kuna hii kitu kama ya kamari, watu wanacheza wanashikana wako pamoja. Sasa kukuja town kuingia nikapata watu bado wameshikana. Nilienda nyumbani nikaandika hizi posti, nikasema nitachukua jukumu yangu, nikijaribu niokoe 2 watatu, nione agarao wakiona hizi posti, angarao wataona hii ni kitu iko na uchuni, yani iko na machozi kwa vile watu wanakufa. Sasa nikaonelea niwe nasunguka, nibebe maji, angarao wakiona nikiosa watu wengine wana hiyo kitu wanaweka kwa okay. Watu wengi wanakuja town, wameacha familia zao nyumbani. Sasa vile wanashikana, alafu wanarudi kwa familia zao. Nikaona hapa ni Mungu. Nikasema nitatia amri ya president, vile anasema niandike posti, watu wakae nyumbani. Tena nikaandika watu wakuja waoge mikono hapa. Hii ni watu tu, yani kila mtu ajue kuna kifo. Juu hapa kuna kifo. Hebu angalia nchi yote. Hii kitu inaua. Na ndio nimeiandika hata nyuma ni defo. Juu imeshida kila country zote.
Naona pia umebeba Biblia kwenye baiskeli yako. Ina umuhimu upi wakati ambapo unazunguka?
Okay, hii Biblia mimi hupenda kuomba sana. Mimi nimeokoka. Sasa naenda nikiriria watu. Hata nikiona watu wameshikana, naambia Mungu oi, si usaidie hawa. Juu mimi nakuombaga na unatimiza, si usaidie hawa wakae kando kando. Ndio nimeandika kila kaa distant. Na ndio nimesema mtu hana mask hata oga hapa tena. Kila mtu afae mask. Juu akikuja kuoga hiyo mihewe yake ananiletea.
Umeona baadhi ya Wakenya wengi hapa jijini Nairobi, wengi hawajavalia mask, hawazingatii. Inakufanya wewe kama Mkenya ambaye umechukulia jambo hili na uzito kujihisi vipi?
Hii kitu mimi niko na uchungu. Hata nikienda nyumbani naenda naambia bibi wangu na watoto wangu ni kubaya. Juu watu hawana mask. President anasema, Minister ya Health inasema, lakini watu hana mask. Hata nikasema angalau ningepatana president. Juu nimesunguka Umoja. Hii ni wiki ya 3. Nimesunguka Githurai, nimesunguka Nairobi yote. Kuna shida. Heri president aweke go round, aokoe watu wa Kenya. Aseme kila mtu akae kwa nyumba. Juu sisi tulifunga kazi, niko na mwezi moja bila kazi. Watu wako kwa nyumba, wanakula nini? Siyaweke breakdown, tukae kwa nyumba mwezi moja, hii shida iishe. Juu, hebu ona, mimi nateseka na watoto wangu kwa nyumba. Hawana chochote. Si leo nimewaondokea. Hatuna chochote. Nimesema acha niende nikajaribu kuongea na Wakenya angalau watii. Hapo katikati angalau pengine kuna wale wako na huruma. Mtu anaweza akanipea kitu kidogo. Lakini kikaa kwa nyumba nakaa watoto wangu wanakula nini? Hata niliona nyumba niko na miezi kama 4. Okay. Kuna shida duniani. Na ile shida iko duniani. Heri Mungu aingilie, president aingilie, ndio wakoe wa Kenya. Hapa kuna shida, hebu angalia watu wameshikana. Tufanye nini?
Asante sana, asante sana. Like you can see actually from the pictures that you're seeing, the people who are standing actually next to me here, they're not wearing masks and they do not even have wine. And you get to wonder whether Kenyans really understand the seriousness and the magnitude of the pandemic that they are facing. It just leaves one wondering. And seeing a Kenyan like Muriithi here taking the initiative, personal initiative, just to come around with placards reminding Kenyans that they need to be serious, that actually they need to wear their masks, they need to wash their hands. It is very encouraging to see a few of Kenyans who have taken this pandemic with the seriousness actually that it deserves. This is what is happening here at CBD. Actually saddening to see that Kenyans are actually, it's business as usual for them. But it is encouraging to see actually many of them coming to wash hands at this particular point where a gentleman who has just spoken to us has set a point where Kenyans can actually wash their hands. That's all I can report for now, but many more will be coming in our bulletins. I take you back to the studio. My name is Beatrice Gatonyengetich.
Thank you, Beatrice, for that update. You can see for yourselves the situation at the CBD. There is still a lot that needs to be done in terms of helping Kenyans to understand the seriousness of this particular global pandemic. You can see a majority of them, like Beatrice is reporting to us this morning, are still not adhering to the guidelines that were issued by the government to avert the spread of coronavirus. Quite a number of them are not wearing masks. So many of them do not even, observe the social distance that has been recommended. And it could be for lack of information. Others, it could be for just a laxity because probably they feel it's not that serious. But going forward, there still needs to be a lot that needs to be done. I don't know what you read from the mood among Kenyans, even as the ones that Beatrice has interacted with Bona Dixon. Do you feel like we will really win this war if we go at this pace?
Yeah, we will win this war. We will win this war. What is needed now, as you are talking, is really dissemination of information that should scale down to mashinani. For
those who are not adhering to the guidelines, like you've seen in that link, do you think it's for lack of information? I think, or it could just be.
There are two perceptions on that. One is lack of information. It has not really gotten it to them. The other aspect of it is easily desperation because of lack of income. People wanting to eke something for their life, putting food on the table, at the end of it all. Those are the two main factors that sometimes make people not really take these issues very, very seriously. But I would want to really comment on the first one. The information about COVID-19 needs to scale down to the mashinani. I'll take you back to the year 2000 onwards, when the HIV/AIDS came into, and by the way, I'm a trained HIV/AIDS advocate on stigma and counseling. I went for 6 months training during that time, and we did a bit of it in the matatu industry, 15 hotspots, and very successful one because we had more than 20 people owning up after lecturing, after being given information, symptoms, and what have you. Equally, this COVID-19, it requires a rigorous campaign. Yes? And campaign, we don't mean calling for people in specific areas as we have been doing in other mode of campaigns. This campaign should be through the media, yeah, and on the ground. Of course, right now as we are talking, as MW are looking for donors, really to fund us. We should be able to go and carry out one because we know how it is done. We have done various, more than 5 campaigns of different magnitude of different issues.
So what you're proposing is a campaign that targets the local Mwananchi to reach the grassroots levels for them to have information about coronavirus.
Especially the slums. Yeah, they need this sort of campaign.
All right.
Look at it. How many of them do have access to radio, although there's many radios, transmissions and so forth? How many read the paper? How many watch the screens? Yeah, quite a few. So they need to hear this from another quarter.
A
So
change of strategy in terms of awareness is needed. That's what you're recommending. Let me take you back a bit. There was that gentleman, Mureithi, I believe that is his name. One thing that stood out for me was the effort he took to personally conduct his own form of awareness about coronavirus. He has a bicycle and so many placards that send a message about coronavirus. One that stood out for me was the fact that he was telling people, stop being a joker. Let's declare war on coronavirus. Wash your hands here. Corona kills. But stop being a joker. Just telling people to take this seriously. But he talked about something interesting about having a lockdown in the country as one of the ways he recommends. Do you think that's something that could help? Are we ready for such a measure?
Let me say this. Muriuki is a very good...
Mureithi.
Is it Muriuki?
Mureithi.
Mureithi is a good patriotic Kenyan who is really innovative. I think it took him some time for him to think of going around campaigning, even putting that small water tank at the back of his bicycle and those placards. That's a very good patriotic Kenyans. And I wish many Kenyans would emulate that so that at least this gospel is spread as fast as possible. We also did training, TOT. We trained about 100 Matatu Sacco terminal stage clerks and the Sacco managers on the do's and don'ts of this COVID-19. And ostensibly, on the understanding that they will also go and train the people on the ground in their own areas, or their own routes, and so forth. That's very critical and very, very important. Now, that information, as I said, they need to cascade down so that people really understand. It's not a joke. The way
it's a serious
issue.
So should we take serious measures?
Kenyans should take this seriously.
Like what he has proposed.
No matter how much you are really oppressed, no matter how hardship it is, because the economy has not also been doing well, we understand that, and people are trying to make a living, and hence coming out of the house. And he mentioned one thing also, that akikaa nyumbani atakula nini, watoto watakula nini. Yeah, that also is a bit contradicting himself, because when you call for a total lockdown, those are the consequences, that people don't have money. They are not able to support the family. They are not able really to put food on the table.
So we are not.
That's
ready
one
for
of the
such
impeding factors that
right.
I think the government is looking into that.
All right. Thank you for that. Now, I asked, Simon Kimtai earlier about the progress that has been made in terms of, complying to these new directives that were issued to curb the spread of COVID-19, especially the ones that touch on the matatu sector. How would you rate yourself from where you sit the progress that has been made?
Well, before I answer that question, I would want Kenyans to really to understand that public transport all over the world, globally, is a responsibility of the sitting governments, really, to make citizens move from one place to the other. But because 90% of governments all over the world are very poor business people, that's why they relieve this and issue tenders yeah, for private sector really to bid for those tenders and provide the movement, that provision of movement from one to place. And that's what we have the matatus in this country. Though it started from 1960s, coming without rules, specific rules and regulation. Until 1985, that it was really officially recognized as a mode of public transport. Now, coming now to your situation, for the last 4 weeks, again, we have now come up rigorously in this campaign. And all of us should be able to join hands. As I said earlier on, it's not one sector, it's not one individual. The government requires support in propelling this campaign so that at least it's successful.
So are there some that are defying? Are there cases? Because we had, there was a warning that public transport operators were disregarding some of these directives. Are they risk being deregistered? Are there cases you can point out probably that, such measures have been taken?
Not that one I know, but the minister came up, CS Macharia came out very, very, very clearly and candidly that there's need to adhere and to comply with the regulations, with these COVID directives. There's no shortcut about it, because it could end up being affected. Even you driver who is defying could end up also, your life is in danger, equal as that one of the commuter that you are carrying out. So all of us should be really adhere to that and spell the gospel. When the passengers are, because sometimes I use matatu most of the time, you see some passengers really don't want to be sanitized. They just want to get into the vehicle. These are some of the things we want to discourage. Let every commuter that's traveling by matatus, or even your personal cars, get the habit of sanitizing your hands frequently, or even washing when you get home. Not once, not twice, several times, so that at least you are able to repair this COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because as at yesterday, there were still some vehicles that were impounded as they were floating some of the directives that were given by the government on cessation of movement. What could be happening? What could be the loopholes, though? Because some were trying to take the so-called undesignated routes to get to their destinations, even after the government really gave a directive that in case you're in Nairobi, you should not leave or come to Nairobi for the next 21 days. Are we still having gaps probably that we need to see?
My advice, particularly to the SACCO chairman and the committees respective, because no single matatu operates if it's not affiliated to a SACCO or a company. My appeal to the chairman, those who call shots in the companies and in the SACCOs, to prevail upon their drivers and the conductors to really comply with the government directives. Yes, there is no need, of seeking to penetrate to get into the CBD through Panya routes. You could be carrying some of the COVID-19 carriers without knowing. So you are aiding into spreading the COVID-19. So that's why we have to come out very, very clearly and candidly and appeal to them. And for your information, some SACCOs are not affiliate of the associations. We have 6 associations in this country that have formed part of the Federation of Public Transport Sector. Now we have now a single voice for the matatu industry. And currently we are supporting the government in trying to make strategic plans for the BRT to be introduced in this country. As task force, as FTS and Namata. That's what we have been working on, and it's soon coming to fruition. Now, back to the COVID. Wacha zote tuchangie katika kuweka mikakati, kutii na hizi sheria, ndio tuweze kukinga sisi wenyewe na wale ambao tunabeba kwa hili janga la coronavirus. It's very critical and very, very important.
It's supposed to be a teamwork. Like you said.
Private sector, the economic enablers, because we have many of them, including the public transport sector, which we carry that business on a day-to-day basis. And it participated very greatly in the GDP. For information, we contribute up to 25% of the GDP in this country. Hence the economy. the over 120,000 matatus in this country, that's both taxis, the matatus, the buses, and any PSV motor vehicle contributes greatly to the economy of this country. But it is with that context that also we should be seen practically that we are teaming with the government in terms of repelling the COVID-19.
That relationship, though, there was a proposal to have a training, I think around March, mid-March. The last time we were having this conversation, there was that challenge of lack of information among some of these operators. How has that been addressed? Are there trainings that have happened, especially the government collaborating with the public service industry? Has there been something to that effect?
Let me say in Nairobi, we really have played a big role in supporting the government. I told you earlier on we had trained about 100 young men and women. And those are the ones that have spread, they have educated the others in Nairobi because we didn't go further than that because of the constraint of the resources. They have spread the information to their colleagues within Nairobi that the critical issues, washing hands, using sanitizers, social distance, and avoiding crowded places. If you go walk around, you will see in the evening when passengers are queuing for the vehicles, there's some kind of observant about social distance. Yeah, though not all of them, but they are getting it very fast. That when the vehicle comes, the matatu comes, even before it comes, those passengers have got to give space, so that at least Yes.
Last time there was that challenge of the cost and availability of some of these products like sanitizers and even some protective gears. Right now, it is actually a requirement that every person should wear a mask if you're in a public space, and matatus and all forms of PSVs are part of the public space. How is the situation changed right now? And, in terms of accessing these protective gears and the cost and their availability, where you buy them, how is the situation?
Well, I would want to put a challenge to the government. They said through, of course, the industry. We saw the CS, Honorable Betty Maina, explaining that the industry is gone fully into production about the face mask. And we anticipate maybe the next by end of this week or next week, at least they will have supplied all those hundreds of millions of the masks, the face masks, so that at least the matatu industry sector can get a number of them.
Will they be able to provide those
to
commuters?
Yeah, through the circles, through association, they should be able to provide. It's a matter of...
At their cost or at whose expense?
Yeah, the government has come out very clear they're going to produce that at zero cost, yes? So we expect them to really give us those supplies so that at least every time a passenger gets into the matatu and doesn't have that mask, at least provided, yeah, so that at least we can supply this mask to as many people as possible within the industry, which is very good. Why I'm saying that? Because those will be already based on the standards, yeah, of masks. The ones that are being tailored within the towns, whether Nairobi or Eldoret or Kisumu, at times we don't think they have standard, yeah? Just like the way the CS Minister of Health explained the other day. Possibly they will only prevent the dust from getting into you, but not the COVID. So we need some kind of standardization to be given to the tailors when they are,
they're producing
stitching these ones, yes.
But currently there is still a challenge in access?
Yeah, there's still a challenge in access.
Okay. These directives have also come with a lot of, impact on the commuters, especially on Monday and yesterday and even today, I believe in many roads, there are some people who are still stranded. Are there certain measures you have taken or an initiative you have taken to reach out to the officials who are concerned to help those who have been stranded on these roads, those who probably had booked tickets, or something that has been done from a stakeholder's perspective?
From a stakeholder's perspective, we are now relying on CS Honorable Matiang'i. Yes. Yesterday said every case will be looked into on merit. So we are anticipating, and don't forget also NTSA is under surveillance of Interior Ministry. Yeah, we are also expecting that after evaluating the situation the way it is, the NTSA, of course, through the Interior, because those are the people in charge, will come up with some directives so that at least these people who are stranded maybe could be moved in. But again, going by the directive that was clearly spelled out by PS Kibichu, it says that if you are in Murang'a, just stay in Murang'a. If you are in Nairobi, stay in Nairobi. Possibly that's what should prevail, and people should really be observed that, unless on exceptional cases whereby now people should be able to seek authority for that traversing counties and moving into Nairobi to other counties, or counties from other counties into Nairobi. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, and you're really helping us understand how this is going to be operating going forward. But I also want to understand what we have seen right now is that companies, different sectors have come out clearly and said that this is what we want to do. This is our portion in helping efforts to curb coronavirus. There has been even others who have given donations that we are giving our donation to the kitty that is going to be helping in curbing this spread. I don't know from the sector, public service sector, is there anything to that effect?
Sometimes you normally say we kind of providing services to wananchi, almost to a Red Cross kind of position.
What do you mean Red Cross?
The Red Cross is normally known for making provision of donated items and all sorts of equipment and so forth.
Yes.
The matatu industry, people have a very wrong perception that since Mbugu has bought a matatu, or you have bought a matatu,
is it not business?
You are now gone into very lucrative kind of industry, and sooner or later you'll be a millionaire. That's not the position in the matatu industry. We are only just, those who have invested are only just bold for lack of doing other things. No any other business can sustain their thinking other than investing in the matatu industry. And the sequence of matatu industry, today I move out, you come in, so that there's that continuity. Otherwise, they don't make as much as people have been thinking they make.
But still,
because
are there
of so
any
many
other
taxes.
efforts?
There's a lot of taxes. The fares are not up to the standard that should be able to be applicable. That's per mile unit traveled vis-a-vis the fare. We haven't come to that situation to calculate that. If we were to move into that mathematical kind of setup, you will not be able to use matatus, because what we are charging is far less, not even 50% what should be charged.
It's a Red Cross kind of service, that's what you say.
I mean.
But still, what would you say then that is your role in this journey to curb coronavirus?
Our role is really first to inform people. Of course, those who are traveling and those who are at the various terminals and the bus stops, the danger about COVID-19. Yeah, people should be explained how serious this issue is. It's not like HIV/AIDS. HIV/AIDS, of course, we know transmission, how it gets into people. But this one here is more dangerous, is more, I would want to say, the spread is very faster than any other virus. So people should be able to adhere to the laid down rules and regulations. Number two, we also, once they are in the vehicle, although the capacity has been spelled out, 8 for the 14-seater, 15 for the 25, and 16 for the 33.
It shouldn't go beyond 60%.
Shouldn't go beyond that. Yeah, and even the seating arrangements, it has to be 1 meter. And one would want to comment, there's a comedian Masai who goes around town enforcing the 1 meter. He's doing a good job.
In a really tough way, if you may ask.
Yeah, in a tough way, because Kenyans are sometimes, not all, maybe 30% of Kenyans really hard to catch up and comply with the directives, but he's doing a good job. Now, when they sit in the vehicle, they must observe the 1 meter kind of situation, not to sit behind each other. That it has to be diagonal, so that at least we observe that 1 meter. And then, of course, washing the hands, and of course, avoiding crowded areas.
All right.
Yes.
Well said. I have been speaking to Dickson Mbugua, who is the chair of Matatu Welfare Association, just shedding some light on how the new directives that have been issued by the government have affected the transport sector, the public transport sector in the country. And we've talked about a lot, including the big losses that as currently operators have to deal with. But what stands out from this conversation, and even the one I had with the chair of Matatu Owners Association, Simon Kimutai, is that there is no option. We all have to play a part in helping the government combat the spread of this deadly pandemic that has so far claimed 76,000 lives, more than 76,000 lives. Actually, so far the cases that have been reported stand at 1,358,600, and they keep rising by the day. So any minute you could be getting more figures as we speak. In our country so far, 172 cases of coronavirus have been reported. We are having 14 cases that were reported yesterday, but we have some good news. Yesterday, the health CS said that there are quite a number of people that keep recovering from this coronavirus in our country. So far, the number of recoveries stand at 7 in our country. This is after 3 more people were declared COVID-19 negative as at yesterday. Half of those new confirmed cases come from Nairobi. Remember on Monday when President Uhuru Kenyatta made that directive, he said, among other things, that Nairobi accounts for 82% of the total number of cases that have been reported in the country. So Nairobi is being focused on as one of the hotspots of COVID-19. And this is among other 3 counties from the coastal region, that is Mombasa, Kwale, and Kilifi, which in total account for 14% of COVID-19 cases. So these 4 counties are really under the radar of the government. But still, remember that other counties are not safe. Garissa County yesterday reported their first case of coronavirus. So it is something that actually in the whole nation, we just need to be careful, because you never know what will happen next and where the next case could be coming from, who is next to you, and what is their status in as far as coronavirus is concerned. But then there are measures that have been put in place that include testing of people. And so far, figures coming from the government is that nearly 5,000 people have been tested for COVID-19 in the country. And we have other measures like what we have been discussing that touch on the public transport in the country, and also curbing areas where people meet and public spaces, which we have seen as at yesterday. There was that directive by the health CS that going forward with immediate effect, all golf clubs in the country stand closed. So this is actually geared towards just mitigating the spread of coronavirus in the country. And we believe that, yes, it could have come with quite a heavy challenge for a majority of Kenyans who could actually be, probably had planned to travel. Others, it comes with a challenge in terms of their daily livelihoods. Some who cannot go to work, others have been forced to stay at home. They do not know their fate. But generally, it's all about making sure that you stay safe. But you know what? All this could not bear any fruit if you do not observe the basic precautionary measures that have been given. The guidelines just to wash your hands at every available opportunity, to sanitize if you can, to avoid, public spaces, places where people are crowded, actually just to observe a social distance. These are the basics that we have been receiving from the Ministry of Health and even the World Health Organizations are some of the things that you can do yourself to curb the spread of this virus. But remember, if you have information, why don't you pass it to others who do not have? Use any means. You can use your phone, whatever direction you decide, just to make sure that we are all aware and we are all informed. Right now, we want to take you to more, just awareness on coronavirus. We prepared for you just some facts, some basic facts that you need to understand about this, how this virus is spread, what you need to observe, what you need to avoid. Here is our fact sheet on coronavirus. People of all ages can be infected by COVID-19. Older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, and heart disease appear to be more vulnerable to becoming severely ill with the virus. WHO advises people of all ages to take steps to protect themselves from the virus, for example, by following good hand hygiene and good respiratory hygiene. But where can you be more at risk of contracting the disease? Public gatherings, funerals, weddings, street groupings, beaches, open-air markets, gyms, barber shops, salon and massage parlors, hospitals, bars and restaurants are considered high-risk areas. Unauthorized access to isolation and quarantine centers, lifts, bus parks, churches, house parties, ports, factories and sports activities are also high-risk areas. Supermarkets, malls, banking halls, public transport, cash payments, rental apartments, prisons, board meetings, interview panels, motorbikes are regarded as medium-risk areas. People are instead advised to stay at home, embrace online interactions which are considered low risk. You can reach the Ministry of Health through emergency toll-free line 0800-721316 or through 0729-471414 and 0732-353535 for more information. You can get more information on COVID-19 by calling 719 or dialing *719# on your phone.
Before touching the mask, clean hands with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. Take the mask and inspect it for tears and holes. Orient which side is the top side where the metal strip is. Ensure the proper side of the mask faces outwards, the colored side. Place the mask to your face. Pinch the metal strip or stiff edge of the mask so it holds to the shape of your nose. Pull down the mask's bottom so it covers your mouth and your chin. After use, take off the mask. Remove the elastic loops from behind the ears while keeping the mask away from your face and clothes to avoid touching potentially contaminated surfaces of the mask. Discard the mask in a closed bin immediately after use. Perform hand hygiene after touching or discarding the mask. Use alcohol-based hand rub or, if visibly soiled, wash your hands with soap and water.
There you have it, and I believe that will go a long way in helping you understand a few facts about coronavirus. We do this every day in each and every of our bulletin just to help you have the important information that you need, factual information, if I may be specific. Avoid information that comes from other sources that you're not trusted. They could just make the situation worse. Thank you so much for creating time for us today. Lillian, Matthew, Nicholas Kiptanui, Mary Atieno, Ruth Peter, and Philip Chebunet. You've all told me that you're watching, and we thank you for creating time, and all of you who've created time to catch this broadcast. Thank you to my guest, Bona Dixon, for also creating time for us this morning. Until there, we now want to pave way for the Swahili version of the program, Tamrini. Do stay for that. Nancy Okware will be taking you through that. My name is Safin Achieng Oma, and our sign language interpreter is Byron Abuli. Have a lovely day.